Spira District lies on Afghanistan's eastern border with Pakistan. Freelance journalist Doug Grindle was recently embedded there with a U.S. Army unit. He looked at efforts to extend the influence of the Afghan government in the border region as U.S. troops stopped by several remote mountain villages to introduce the local populace to the district sub-governor, one of the higher-ranking officials in the area.
Recently, when I was in Afghanistan, I stopped off at a group of soldiers who are operating on the border, and they're right up against the border of Pakistan in one of the most remote places in Afghanistan, and that's Spira District, which is part of Khost Province, which is right on the eastern side against Pakistan. And the best way to get in there is by helicopter, simply because it's such rugged terrain that it takes a huge amount of time just to get anywhere by Humvee or by truck. The soldiers are in the middle of this operation, essentially trying to show the locals that the central Afghan government in Kabul cares about them. And so the soldiers fly in this district sub-governor. He's the Spira District sub-governor. It's the first time he's been in this valley. The villagers have no idea who he is, and yet they're pretty keen on him showing up. And the soldiers are keen on him showing up as well, because it means that the influence of the government is now being extended in here. And it's a very short visit, but at least it shows that for the first time, the Kabul government is actually reaching out to these villages, really in the middle of nowhere.
Okay.
When the district sub-governor arrived, the first thing the soldiers wanted to do is show them around the base. Essentially, the base's combat outpost is just a converted Afghan house, which obviously has mud walls around it, but the soldiers want the Afghan sub-governor to realize that there is an army presence here, and they want to impress upon him that the Afghan government has to take this stuff seriously.
In the next 48 hours, the engagements we have with the villagers of Rice, Patsmila, and to the north here in Serkanda are going to be even more important than the position that we hold here, because now they're going to understand that you are here, you are their leader, their representative, and that somebody does give a damn about how they're living here and their well-being. Yeah. It's the last time that we spent any significant amount of time up here. 2 engagements, one with a 50-man enemy element that was pinned down in this building right here. I ended up killing 13 of them and wounding 5 others. The remainder of them were dispersed and trying to get back with their commanders. But the bottom line is, it was a chance opportunity that we were here because our vehicle was broken down. We took advantage of it, and it really gave us a good idea of what's really going on in this dead space between the A&A position to the south and the KPF position to the north. Yeah, and just the amount of time that we've been here is provided this little umbrella security for the valley here, to where people are, they're acting and behaving in ways that we've never seen them before since we've been up here. People aren't afraid to come out of their houses at night. We're seeing much more, children out playing around, especially in Serkanda. The HA distros, they're not hiding their women so much. They're not hiding their children, and these are all good things that are benefiting from our location here. Yeah, that's the whole idea here. Is we need to set up the Afghans who come in behind us for success. So we're not going to be here forever. I can't put a time limit on it, but I'm not going to leave in this location until everything is set for the Afghans to come in and take over. The road is part of it. The security position here is part of it. And then eventually, as we move into the open area down here in the Dashta and build the permanent ABP location, that's going to be where you really start to see things coming together. Yeah, that's a big problem too. Is there's too much reliance on Pakistan here. I mean, we went to Rice, which you're going to go to in a couple days. It's just down the wash here, And if you looked at all the males' watches on their wrist, they were on Pakistani time. So that's a big indicator to me. Roger. Yeah, the most important thing to understand though is it is not a U.S. only thing that's going to do this. It's not just the U.S. coming in here. And where I've seen projects become successful is where there's a significant amount of interaction between the U.S. forces and the Afghan government, and in particular at the district level. So being yourself, the district sub-governor, your voice is going to carry a lot louder than mine does when it comes to getting things done. Because we may provide some of the resources and a lot of the resources, but as far as the allocation of those go, that is up to you, that is to your voice to give to your governor, the governor of Kaust, and then for that to work down the chain down to the U.S. forces, and that way we're able to allocate whatever you need. Okay. The last thing was Serkunda. When we go there tomorrow, we've proposed a community center constructed, and it's going to be basically built into their mosque, so they can conduct their prayer there. They've got their guest house for any transients, Pashtun Wali, and then also will serve as a place for them to conduct a shura. Now, the one thing that implies, though, is that they have a shura, as I mentioned before. And so what we're charging them with is, hey, this is kind of a give and take thing. We want to build this structure for you, but when I say we're building a community center, I mean, that's what I mean. It's going to be community. So it's going to be on their shoulders, which we see them as probably the, I'd say the strongest of the three villages here as far as leadership goes. And we want their leaders to draw in the leaders from Rice, Potsmilla, and even Pawara over the ridge here and bring them to their community shura there. So we're setting them up, and now they just have to make it happen. And we really got to hammer that home.
When the soldiers are walking down towards Serkunda, the soldiers sort of come across this group of Afghan males who are just sitting down there on the riverbed. I think they're just hanging around, killing some time, basically. The soldiers send some Afghan guys down, make sure that they're actually not doing anything suspicious, and then the soldiers say, well, we're giving stuff away in the village. Maybe you guys want to come back, and we're meeting with your elders. So the Afghan males turn around, they walk back towards the village, and they get up to the village, and there's a bunch of people just hanging around. If they're not cutting wood or working in the fields, the unemployment rate is astounding. The poverty rate is very, very high. And so there's just a lot of this sort of sitting around on the part of the Afghan villagers because there's literally nothing else to do.
We're establishing a shura here. We've got the village elder coming down, Amor Han, and his son Mirzafar. And we're going to pull together the sub-governor of Spira, who's never been to this area, not in the last year at least, and really just give the people an idea of, there is some sort of governance here, and that he cares about them, and he's thinking about future projects and development in this area. So.
Why does it matter if the people feel the government's involved? Kabul's a hell of a long way away.
It's a long way away, but as I've mentioned before, this area is very important because the people are uneducated and they're very easily swayed into the wrong side, into the Taliban side. So this is a good way. Do a little something for them. A little something pays off big dividends, as far as security goes. So this is just a place to start.
At the meeting in Serkunda, the sub-governor essentially was introduced to the locals, and there was a bit of speechifying going back and forth, and the message essentially was the central government cares about you, they want your support, and you're no longer going to be out here in the middle of nowhere with no one paying any attention to you, and because of that, you should turn your backs on the insurgents. So Serkunda is a reasonably friendly village. They're receptive to this, other villages less so, but the idea that the government cares it's a new concept for these people. The army, they call this political development. It's a new process. The economic development, it works, but it takes a long time. The political development, they don't know yet. They assume it works. They say that it worked in some areas. But the biggest problem with this whole idea of political development is that many of these Afghan government officials have been living off the people for a long time. Corruption is a real problem among the civil officials. Skimming off the top it's a way of life in Afghanistan. It undermines the idea of political development, but the Army says we do what we can. It takes time, but everything in Afghanistan, whether it's political development, economic development, anything, security, just takes time.
Okay, let's give him, let's see, what size? Okay, give him a small pair of shoes, black pair, sandals. That's a boy, right? Yeah, he's a boy. Okay. Here? This is for him too. Here. Okay, now this little boy. Bless his little heart.
Give him a pair of small shoes.
Okay.
We got out, Mike.
I don't think he'd ever wear them, but
Yeah.
okay, give him a little prayer rug too, bless his little heart.
What about this little socks?
Damas. Okay, I gave him socks.
Okay.
Okay,
now. This is probably one of the things I enjoy the most is making the little kids, the little boys and girls happy, give them shoes, socks, shirts. And it's just spiritually, it's just very rewarding to see the kids happy. Although it looks like it's the kids like running around, I mean, at the end of the day, when they go to their kalats, I mean, this little boy right here, he's going to have shoes and socks because we provided that for him, and this is our future. So the humanitarian aid, it's just very rewarding. There's not enough words to describe how rewarding this is. This is winning the hearts and minds. The little kids are our future, and when these little kids grow up, they remember this, and hopefully, you know, if the opportunity presents itself for them to go good or bad, hopefully these little kids remember times like this. So, yeah, it's the hearts and minds in a non-kinetic fight, and stuff like this is what we're doing here. We're definitely winning.
The soldiers are handing out humanitarian aid. The problem with this is that in many of these remote areas, especially up here on the border, is that the insurgents don't like the fact that the soldiers are giving stuff out. And so the insurgents on many occasions sort of roll into a village and say, bring all the stuff you've been given by the soldiers, whether it's shoes or winter coats or rugs or things like that. They pile them together. The insurgents will light them on fire, and they tell the locals that if they accept things from the Americans, then the insurgents will kill them. Essentially, there's no way for the soldiers to stop that from happening because they're not in the villages every single day, but they hope that over time the districts will start to resist that sort of behavior on the part of the insurgents.
Okay, you give them clothes?
There you go, that.
They give you anyway, yeah.
Baby clothes, this?
Yeah.
Here, this is for the boy.
Yeah.
And give him a prayer rug, please.
Okay.
Hey, give him this, warm.
Give.
When I was there on the Afghan-Pakistan border, one of the most important things the soldiers are doing is trying to introduce the Afghan government to many of these villages. They want to take the only official which they have from the Afghan government, which is a guy who's the sub-governor of the district called Spira District, and they want to take that guy and show him off to the villagers. They walk from their combat outpost out to a village called Potsmilla, and the idea is to have this shura in this village called Potsmilla, which hasn't seen the sub-governor ever, and to give that sort of emphasis on the point that the Afghan government will come and talk to you, does care about what you want, and because the Afghan government cares and can give you things such as schools or wells, is that really you should turn your backs on the insurgents. In Potsmilla, the soldiers found this diagram sitting there right in the middle of the village, and it's a diagram used by militaries all across the world, this same sort of thing, which essentially, here's your target, you figure out how to attack it. It was a striking thing for the soldiers to sort of run across.
I just have them knock all the way around to that last building right there.
Yeah, I tell you
about where the goats are.
We'll do it. You see the very far building over there?
Yeah.
We'll continue to push over that way. We'll just kind of follow you, provide local security.
Okay.
And we'll do a little mini sit-down shore over there.
All right.
And then once we're done, then we'll move on.
5-2 radio check.
In this meeting at Potsmilla, what they wanted them to do is agree to a different meeting later on that week. And so they sat down, they talked about it for a while, and the villagers did agree to go to a new meeting, which the soldiers said was a big sign of progress, especially because many of these villages are not particularly friendly towards the government. They're Waziri, which means that there's a huge allegiance to the Waziri tribe, which is half Pakistani and half Afghan. And the soldiers have just found this military-type diagram. The village right next door, called Wrights, is extremely anti-government, and these guys are frankly on the fence at best and probably somewhat hostile to the central government. So to have the villagers actually agreeing to go to a different shura or meeting with the sub-governor later that week, the soldiers said that was a pretty good sign. The last meeting the Afghan sub-governor had was with not just one, but two villages, as well as a few people from the third one. That was an important thing of what the soldiers and the sub-governor wanted to do. In order to push out the insurgents here, is they need the cooperation of everyone, all three villages in this valley. Unless they start working together, and historically they haven't really liked each other very much, and until they start working together, then you're not going to get much progress trying to kick out the insurgents. And so having the sub-governor there to say, really, we will offer better security, we'll offer a better security post here, we'll offer economic development, but only if you guys work together. For them to actually have them together to make that argument was the essential first step.
To be honest, that was probably one of the most successful patrols that we've had, incorporating Afghanistan government officials. This guy is a squared away individual, obviously cares about the people here, has never been here, and I think that's one of the reasons that he's very well received. We patrolled there a couple days ago and had the opportunity to kind of talk him up and talk about a lot of the initiatives that we're looking at carrying out, being it security here with the new proposed permanent combat outpost, as well as the roads that are being built through the province here. And then future projects like schooling, etc. He came in and did more than I could ever ask, and really it's more about them anyways, because it's not going to be Americans that fix this country. It's going to be the Afghans, and he really conveyed that point, that he wants to take the initiative and take the people in his hands here and sculpt them into more of a governed body and something that's more organized, which they're not used to, because all these people are operating on the tribal system right now, and that's part of the problem with the Taliban having the influence over them. Is there's no influence, there's no schools, and really just the lack of education causes these people to be so vulnerable to the enemy. And I personally was very impressed with the guy. I thought it went very well. The plans that we have to create a Shura in this area where there is not one is the baseline of building a government, in this tribal system that they've got. And so yeah, I thought it went very well.
Some of the villagers, I guess, said it's the first time in 100 years they've seen the government. Does that indicate there's a long way to go in order to get them on the side of the government?
No, I think it's a very good sign. 100 years, that's probably some Afghan math going on, but I think it's a great sign. The fact that we've been up here several times before and we've really never left anything with them, and now to come and say, I'm going to bring a government official here that is actually your representative, whether you're aware of it or not. He's going to come in and he's going to assess your village, your situation that you're living in, your living conditions, and then he's going to take that away, and he's going to leave notes with us, notes with the government on things that he believes that needs to be improved and how he can, help this become a better society here. So, yeah, I think that's definitely a step in the right direction. I mean, really, with the people that you're dealing with in this area, it's so bleak of an existence that anything is a step in the right direction.
If you have comments about C-SPAN's international programming, please email us at international@cspan.org. And you can watch this or other C-SPAN programming on Afghanistan by visiting our website. Just type Afghanistan into the search box in the upper right-hand corner of our homepage. That's at cspan.org.
Now a forum on the role of the military and intelligence gathering in national security.